there any other commissioners available in the list? Because we're missing several. There seem to be four of us.
Let me know if you see any. No, there's 6 total on the call right now.
Okay, who's off camera, just so I know?
Zurich.
Okay. I'm still looking through the list. Commissioner
That's,
Johnson is not attending tonight. So we're looking for Commissioner Barry and Commissioner Thompson.
yeah, I don't
Don't
see
see
either one of
either.
them in the list.
Okay, so we wanted to respect people's time. So we need to call the meeting to order and get started. Commissioner Palmer, do you want to begin with the roll call?
Yes, 4B01, we don't have present at the moment.
Oh, that's
4B02,
Commissioner Colson, yes.
yeah, 4B02 present, 4B03,
Present.
4B04,
Present.
4B05,
Present.
4B06 is absent, 4B07,
Present.
4B08,
Present.
4B09 is not currently here, and 4B10 is not currently here. We do have a quorum.
All right, thank you. We'll begin with instructions for this meeting. We've been holding virtual meetings for quite a while at this point, but I do want to remind people that we typically do not allow residents that don't identify themselves. So if your name is not listed, you will ultimately be removed from the meeting. And if you have a question, you can use the raise your hand function and you'll be called at the appropriate time. You'll also able to dial *9 if you are on a telephone. With that, we'll move into consideration and approval of the March 2024 public meeting agenda. Before submitting it for consideration, please note that originally the presentation from the mayor's office with regard to the fiscal year 2025 budget proposal was listed as tentative because we were not sure if the budget would be available at this time. And because it is not, there cannot be a presentation with regard to the budget. So that presentation will have to take place, if at all, during our April meeting. So with that note, and striking that presentation from the agenda, is there a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
I move to accept the agenda.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Commissioner Colson has arrived for the record, Commissioner Palmer. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. That's everyone.
I
Next,
just promoted Commissioner Thompson as well.
okay, thank you. Next, we'll move to approval of the February 2024 regular public meeting minutes. You all received a copy of those minutes. Does anyone have any question or concern with regard to them? No? Comment, conversation? No? All right. Hearing none, we'll accept the minutes by acclamation and continue on with commissioner updates. Commissioner Colson, I like your glasses, by the way.
Thank you. Join the club. I'm
You're
at
welcome.
that age.
Do you have an update?
No updates for 4B01.
Thank you. 4B02.
Yes, just want to note that my monthly community cleanup for April will take place Saturday, April 6th at 10 a.m. My cleanups are the first Saturday of the month at 10 at Van Buren and Piney Branch by the Safeway. That will be the regularly scheduled cleanup. And Thursday, April 18th at 6 p.m. will be my office hours and neighborhood walk. I also want to highlight that we are doing spring cleanup week from April 13th to April 21st. Several commissioners are hosting cleanups during that whole week. And you can find all those details. I'll drop the link. There's a link for the full week of cleanups where you can find information. It's a great opportunity for students to get service hours. several of us joined up to do this last year, and we collected over 150 bags of trash. So we're hoping to do even more than that this year. And there's often a social component through food or something else, as well as information about things going on in the neighborhood. So I'll share the link to that event, but that's April 13th to April 21st. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. 4B03,
None at the moment.
thank you. 4B04.
Yes, I just wanted to provide a brief update on two ongoing development projects in the community that the commission had voted to support. One is the application for a planned unit development at 7050 Eastern Avenue, the all affordable development at the apartments known as Elm Gardens. 2 weeks ago at the regular meeting, the zoning commission voted to approve that project and move it forward in alignment with the commission's recommendations. At the same meeting, they also voted unanimously. Well, among those voting, right, they count seats not filled as votes against. So there's always some votes against. So not technically unanimous, but all those voting also supported the map amendment for the all affordable senior housing development at 7709 Georgia Avenue Northwest, which was also supported by the commission.
Wonderful. 4B05.
Yeah, good evening. Just a few updates. So for folks' awareness, I got notified that we're going to be, DDOT will be installing new speed humps. 3 new speed humps at 4B05, one on the 700 block of Rittenhouse, one on the 800 block of Quackenbos, and one on the 700 block of Peabody. And I also got notified that the request for a trash can installation at 9th and Sheridan has been summarily denied multiple times. They did multiple follow-ups, but they are claiming it is a residential area and they cannot install it in that intersection, which is unfortunate. I will probably keep bugging them about it though.
Okay.
And then if you'll indulge me for just a couple minutes, I want to just provide the tower replacement project for folks' awareness. Is that
Sure.
all right?
That's fine.
Okay. So the Department of General Services let me know they plan to replace the 2 communications towers behind the 4th District Police Station, 6001 Georgia Ave. Right now there's 2 communications towers. I'm sure you're familiar with it. The first and the more prominent Eiffel Tower, as they call it, or Hughes Memorial Tower is formerly known. It's 700 feet tall. There's a smaller 400-foot tower next to it. Both are about 40 years old. Under modern building codes, they can't accept any new antenna attachments, and so they're going to replace them with a single 500-foot tower. The current 700-foot tower is used by Metro PD, Office of Unified Communications, U.S. Capitol Police, FBI, Secret Service, WMATA, National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, Verizon Wireless, AT&T, and T-Mobile. The 400-foot tower was used by C-SPAN, but it's vacant now. The 400-foot tower is going to be demolished and replaced with the new 500-foot tower. Once that 500-foot tower is up, all the equipment will be transferred over from the 700-foot to the new one. And then they'll dismantle and remove the 700-foot tower, which will, they'll close side streets. They may have to use a helicopter to remove the top portion of the tower. They'll be relocating the parked police vehicles that typically sit under the towers to the grassy lot immediately north of the precinct, which is National Park Service land. I guess they have some sort of agreement there. DGS is in the process of developing a traffic management plan right now, and they're seeking permits and navigating zoning various requirements that they may need to do. They may start demoing the vacant 400-foot tower as early as this summer, fall timeframe, but then they're going to pause for the election and for the inauguration because of all the national security stuff that's on the towers. So once the election inauguration is complete, they'll proceed with the rest of the project early next year. Hoping to get them to present their plans at the May meeting in more detail, and I'll be arranging some community meetings as well for the surrounding neighbors. In the interim time frame, feel free to contact me with any questions. Thanks.
4B07.
Yes, thank you. Just wanted to say thanks to everyone that attended our single member district meeting on Saturday, March 23rd. I'm holding those meetings on the fourth Saturday of each month at the Lamond Recreation Center at 10 a.m. Also wanted to note that my next newsletter will be out the week of April 8th, and the meeting on the 27th is to be determined because it's at the same time as the Mayor's Spring Cleanup, which is going to be held at Riggs LaSalle Rec Center. Also wanted to update that Tuckerman Street Northwest, the unit block, is getting a speed hump. And also the BZA hearing that was originally for 245 Peabody Street, which is BZA case number 21101. The applicant has filed for a postponement, and I expect to hear in the next few days if that's approved or not. And that's all I have.
If the postponement is approved.
Correct.
Okay. Got it. So I believe 4B08 would be next, which is me. I have received a lot of feedback from residents that were not aware of the plans for the special exemption for 71 Kennedy Street over the last few days or few weeks. We have attempted to arrange a meeting that includes the Office of Zoning, the City Council member, as well as DEMPED. That meeting is now tentatively scheduled for this Thursday. But we have yet to finalize the location. Unfortunately, where I wanted to have the meeting originally is not available. So I'll be putting out a location for that meeting. I'm hoping that it will be a hybrid meeting, and I expect that that location will be finalized between now and tomorrow afternoon, and that information will go out. I noticed that there are a lot of residents here tonight because they were under the impression that there would be a agenda item with regard to 71 Kennedy Street. I don't know why that was the case. Our agenda was published in advance, and it was on our agenda last year. It has not been back on the agenda this year because we've already weighed in. Again, we will have this meeting and from there see what happens and whether or not we will weigh in again in April. In addition, we've planned a community basketball game on Friday, March the 29th. It starts at 5 o'clock. There's a lot of energy around this basketball game. We did this in October where we had MPD play against a team of community kids, young adults, I guess they would prefer to be called. And it spawned into a series. And so this is the first of the next 3 basketball games. We will have one game this month, one night this month, one night in April, and one night in May. And in each case, MPD will be involved in some way. So there will be 2 kids games that one that begins at 5 and the next one will begin right after. And then after that, we'll have a game that involves MPD versus the fire department. We are planning to have free food for the kids and the residents that come out. We also have job recruitment as a part of that event. So MPD, the fire department, Chick-fil-A, Pepco, and I'm forgetting someone. There are 4 tables. Chick-fil-A, no, that's everybody. Chick-fil-A, Pepco, MPD, and the fire department will have tables and will recruit for open positions. So if you or someone in your sphere is looking for a job, Friday night might be a good opportunity to come out and see what the offerings are there. And if not, it's just another way to engage with community and have some fun. There'll be some sort of halftime challenges for the kids that are there and some prizes for the winners. And it's rumored that the Chick-fil-A cow will be out as well. So everyone should come out and have a good time. So with that, I'll hand it off to Commissioner Thompson for an update.
I just want to note that it was great attending the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging on March 14th. That is a commission that, of course, if you are in 4B09 and you are a senior, I encourage you to be part of those meetings. It will not be my last, and kudos to Chair Jocelyn Johnson, who heads that effort. No other updates from 4B09.
Yeah, thank you. Before we move on, could you promote Commissioner Berry to panelist, and then we can see if she has an update. Is she coming? I no longer see her in the attendee list, but I also don't see her in the panelist list.
I did promote her. And normally what happens is they vanish briefly from the attendee list while they join the panelists, but
But it seems to
maybe
have taken a
something
little
happened
bit
in the
longer than
meantime.
normal.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we will move on, and then if she returns, we'll allow her the opportunity to provide an update at that time. Okay, next would be community concerns. You can use the raise your hand function. We'll call on you and you'll have 1 minute to speak. I would appreciate if you would honor the 1 minute because it's always awkward when we have to cut people off. And you can also use *9 and let us know that you're there and we'll acknowledge you when the time is appropriate. Looks like there are 2 hands raised. Jocelyn Johnson can be promoted. I almost said Commissioner Johnson.
Can you hear me?
We can. How are you?
Can you hear? Hi, good. How is everybody? I'm good. Thank you for acknowledging me and allowing me to speak. And I wanted to say thank you to ANC Commissioner Thompson for attending the ANC, mini commission meeting. I also have spoken to Mr. Cohen, Commissioner Cohen, about coming. And I would appreciate if you guys would consider coming in our April meeting. Councilmember George will be attending again, and she will be attending as candidate, Louis George. So anyone can come. You know, you all are honorary seniors. We'll just assume you're going to have your walker and your cane and come on down. I'm being funny. But anyway, please come down to the meeting. Come to the meeting. And Mr. Thomas, you could come anytime you're in the neighborhood. Any one of you guys. I had a question, but I'll wait until Sophia and or Barbara speak.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
I guess we'll hear from you
Bye.
again later. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. If you could promote Brad Garnes, please. You there?
I did promote, but I don't know. I'll try and there. I'm gonna go ahead and try and promote Madeline
Okay.
Daniels just to try and stay one ahead since it seems
While
to be
we're
taking a
waiting,
little while.
Sure. While we're waiting, I want to point out that while we have several residents that are here about Kennedy Street, please understand that we will not hear from each resident about the same issue. You need to consolidate your communications, and we do that all the time. So I don't want you to feel like, you know, that you're not being treated fairly. We're not going to hear from 75 people individually about the same issue. Okay. So we will hear from a few of you, but we're not going to hear from everyone about and have them repeat the same thing. Go ahead, Brad. Welcome to your first meeting.
Hey guys, I have attended a few of these meetings in the past, but you know, I sure don't attend them with the fervor that I have tonight to talk about the development on First and Kennedy. You know, we as a community, we want commercial retail spaces, and we really appreciate everything that you guys are doing for us. I know you guys serve as volunteers, and I think the work you do is so critical, and we all benefit from it. So I know there are people that are really upset, and they feel like for a long time, First and Kennedy has been neglected, and I feel the same way. Real people have been harmed, and I think that we need to look forward for a better way to improve and bring some justice. And what the community is saying is that we want those retail spaces. I do think that everyone, regardless of which camp you're in, we all need to treat each other with respect. And I spoke with Commissioner Brooks, and we have a good dialogue going back and forth. and she's a real person, and we're all real people. And I think we all have the same dream, which is for us to, to live in this great city, and to be a part of it. And so I know people have the same opinion as me. My camp is very clear. We want retail spaces there. We look at what's gone on across the street with some of the other spaces, and there's a bad history there. Many
Brad,
of you know it, and it's hard. But I'll respect this 1 minute, and I want to
thank you.
tell you all how much I appreciate you.
And you'll
And
have more time to speak when we do hold the meeting. I'm not silencing anyone, but
yes, my
this
only
meeting,
my
it's
only
been done.
point is the ANC resolution is for a different project proposal. So by the letter of the law, it's critical that the zoning board has come back and they've said that a new resolution will be required.
So
So I implore you all to not
for
pass
my
any
commissioners that are
resolution.
not caught up, when we voted on this project in November, we received a presentation from the developer on the project. At that time, the zoning case number was different. That zoning number has changed. And so we have to modify the resolution as it exists to include the correct zoning number. And that's what I received from zoning. Okay, so now it's Maddie's turn. Good
Hi
evening.
there. Thank you. This is Maddie. I'm at 56 Longfellow, joined by my little assistant here this evening. And I appreciate that you would rather not hear from us today about the issue of development on the
Not what
corner.
I said, Maddie. I said I don't want to hear from
But
75
I consider
people.
it as a community concern and priority. I am proud to have joined nearly 200 of my neighbors advocating for a walkable, vibrant Kennedy Street. And I know this issue came up last fall and appreciate that, but request your grace in understanding that not all of us share the same awareness of ANC agendas and resolutions, or really understood the stakes until we received the required notice of the zoning hearing just a couple weeks ago. As many of you are aware, there is a long, painful history with Coloma River, and I want it to be very clear to the stakeholders that RE1, the architects, and its law firm are many of the exact same players, just with a new name. So I'm asking for due diligence around their claims of water damage, representing these modifications as minor, and ensuring community awareness and feedback. Because the last zoning application expired and was consequently denied, we have a chance for a redo, and I respectfully request that you make space for community feedbacks and concerns in this process. Thank you.
Okay, so before we call on the next person, I'm going to respond because as I explained to Brad, I deal in realities. I don't deal in fiction. And a lot of what people are presenting in these letters have been fiction. And so we've also all heard from the developer who has indicated he has no relationship to Coloma River. And he also owns the property at 201 Kennedy Street, where a new coffee shop is coming and other housing is coming, and has been very forthright in his dealings with us. I've been the first person to say for years that Coloma River is a bad actor in our community. I've been the first person to say that they are not forthright in their communications with people. They tend to buy properties and propose a project that they never intend to build. And some of this has come from learning over time, right? When we all started 5 or 6 years ago, we didn't know this about Coloma River. They were new to the scene, right? So what we now know about them is they will buy properties along Kennedy Street. They have no intention of actually building anything. And then they flip the property after they get a permit. They propose something so that they can get a permit to make the sale of the property more attractive to another developer because the permits will be in place. And then they sell it and that person does what they may or, what they do. In some cases that leads to actual construction and in some cases it has not. Okay. And the case of 201 Kennedy Street, it did lead to actual construction when at the end of the day, when the purchase was made. I believe that in this case, it will lead to actual development when the purchase is made, or it has been made, but when the new permit is issued. I'm happy to take any other questions. I also want to dispel the myth that La Coupe was evicted so that they could build. That is not an accurate statement. And that is no reason to punish someone. They had a lease, their lease ended, and that's the end of that. Does anyone else have a question or a comment?
I believe Julie Lawson was next in the queue, followed by Uptown Main Street.
Okay, that's fine.
I don't want to talk about First and Kennedy. I just want to
You
flag that
It's fine.
this Friday, the My School DC lottery results will be released, and I'm speaking on behalf of the IDB Wells Middle School PTO. That the mayor is hosting a high school decision day on Friday, and it will be at Wells at 9:30, where 8th graders at Wells will talk about where they're going to high school, and it'll be a big celebration for the whole city about where all of our 8th graders are going to pursue their futures. So I, as the Wells PTO rep and a proud parent of a 7th grader, really encourage neighbors to get to know all of our neighborhood DC public schools, even if you don't choose to send your child there, or you don't yet have a child, or you already had children. Just come in and get to know our schools and see all the great things that are going on. So just wanted to put that out there as an opportunity for the community to come and see everything that's going on and have a chance to catch the mayor and Chancellor Farabee.
Okay, I think you benefited because I forgot to turn on the timer, but I think 1 minute is up. So thank you.
I'm all
for that.
done.
All right, wonderful. We're gonna move on. With that, we're gonna move on to Sophia Tacola from the Mayor's Office on Community Relations and Services.
I believe Uptown Main Street is waiting too in the community comment portion.
Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't see them.
They can unmute themselves if they want to.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Brooks, I was hoping that MPD would be present, but in any event, I want to, make an announcement of an event that we hope all of your constituents, Manor Park and north of Brightwood Park and Petworth will join us, because Petworth Porch Fest is on April 27th. And there will be a special node with bands on Kennedy Street, the 700 block of Kennedy Street. They're very close to where you are. And we hope that you will follow PetworthPorchFest.org. Our fellow Main Street, Petworth Main Street, is helping to organize that free event. So we hope that you will join us. Now, we do have a concern that we wanted to bring up. And again, I was hoping MPD would be present, but I'm sure you will want to be aware that our businesses between the 200 block of Kennedy Street up to North Capitol are very concerned with daily motorcycle racing up and down those streets. And they have called me numerous times. I have contacted some MPD, but we have not gotten any results. And I think it's important for everybody to be aware that every afternoon, this going on every afternoon is very dangerous. As you know, there is a charter school and 2 early learning centers right there. So we are concerned. We wanted to bring that up with as many people as we can.
Yeah.
To see if something can be done about that. So those are our announcements.
Happy to bring that to their attention. Also.
Yes, thank you very much. We hope you will join us. You will follow us. There will be more arts and music on Kennedy Street, closer to you, and then further over by the 700 block this summer, and for other events throughout the year. So I'll be here to make announcements. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, with that, we will upload Sophia Tacola.
Hello, everybody. It is good to see everyone. I have a lot to share, but I only have 5 minutes, so definitely be on the lookout for an email because this is 4 pages long and we don't have time for all of that. But I want to start with the most important, which are updates. So last month, Commissioner Yates, we were talking about Secure DC. As everyone knows, Secure DC has passed. And one thing that was highlighted that I really want to make sure we're checking in on, you had shared concerns about any possible loosening of standards, specifically with MPD, and wanting to definitely reinforce MPD is held to the same standards when it comes to honor and conduct that they have before, whether it's with what they are doing. There is a code of conduct, and they're definitely making sure that that is moving forward with everything included with Secure DC. In addition to that, Commissioner Palmer, I talked with DPW about the overflowing trash cans, specifically also looking at the newer cans in the area of the Starbucks, as well as newer cans that have gone in the SMDs, I believe in Commissioner Yates' SMD, as well as yours. And then requested resources to know the rotation of when those cans are being filled. And so they said they should be getting that to me before the end of the month, which is very soon. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. In addition with that, I talked with DDOT as well as shared with our executive team here in the mayor's office. When construction is happening, whether it's with DDOT or with a new zone or anything, I think all of us have been subjugated to issues when it comes to parking, and that's a problem. I know that during the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging, I was talking to seniors and they were like, they're telling us to move and I'm handicapped. I can't move that far. And so we've highlighted those concerns to DDOT and asked for them to come up with a plan to fix those issues. And so that is in the works currently. And then with Commissioner Brooks, talking about something we have been talking about for what feels like forever, which is New Hampshire Avenue and Kennedy Street, as well as North Capitol, and flagging the cutting of the grass in that area, as well as all the dumping that tends to get up there when the grass is long. And so that has been flagged to DPW, and I reminded them that it has been requested before and it is needed as soon as possible, which is a schedule for maintenance in this area. Because I believe we've talked about this, whether it's on this call or privately, about how if we request it to be done, it gets done. But what we need is that schedule. And so I'm looking forward to that coming up, as well as highlighted with DPW, the vacant property on 5412 First Street Northwest. Now, the big information coming up for tomorrow, I believe I've shared this a few times, but you guys sort of have this specialty of you're the last meeting of the month before I meet with all of the different agencies. And so tomorrow I will be meeting with these agencies in person, and we're going to be doing a walk, and I invite anybody on this call or anyone in the community to take part. And so this walk will start at Longfellow Street Northeast and New Hampshire Avenue Northwest, and we will walk down through the CVS, stopping along Kennedy Street, and there will be MPD there, DLCP, DOB, DDOT, as well as a few other different core DC agencies. That walk will happen at 2 p.m. tomorrow. So if you want to come, you're more than welcome to. It's obviously not mandatory, but I want to open the floor. A lot of these walks tend to stick with just the core agencies, but as I know that this area has been highlighted quite a bit, I want to make sure that the community knows that we're there if they want to come. Now, how am I doing on time?
42 seconds.
Okay, I will share the, let's see. Specifically with looking at community grants, we have a lot of community grants. I'll just put the link in the chat because I think that is one of the most crucial things when we're talking about wanting more retail and when we're talking about business. I want to advise as many people as possible to sign up to these community grants, whether it's the RECL grants or the robust retail grants. Please sign up. There's money out there for you.
All right, thank you. Commissioners, do you have any questions? Commissioner Palmer, then Colson, then Yates.
Thank you, Sophia. I just want to clarify that the issue with regard to the utility coordination of work in public space is not just related to parking, it's related to coordination and notice to residents that the work will be taking place. We have a resolution on the agenda tonight that we're voting on related to this, and I'll make sure that you get a copy. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm sorry that I missed that. I'll make sure that I flag that with them as well.
Commissioner Yates. I'm sorry, Colson was next, right? I'm sorry.
Yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Colson.
Okay, hi, Sophia. We talked about trash cans. I want to get some clarification on the policy for them. My resident has made 2 requests for trash cans, and they've been closed without anyone coming out. We're very close to the KFC, Taco Bell, so it is residential, but it's kind of on the cusp of commercial as well. So trash cans will be beneficial. I've elevated it to the liaison as well, and I haven't heard anything. So if you can provide next steps, I can also, for DPW.
Do you know,
But I can also
it Dan?
I don't believe it was Dan. A new list just came out last week, so I went through the list, but I can send you the report number as well, if that's helpful. But I CC'd you on that email.
Yes, I did see that.
Okay, cool.
Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on the budget presentation we were supposed to have tonight. Like, as you know, the mayor was required by law to produce her budget on March 13th. It's March 25th. She got a reminder from the CFO that he had to have the budget by March 10th, and then on March 11th, he said that it hadn't been sent yet. Why are we blowing the deadlines and ignoring the law so that we can not have our budget presentations?
I don't have an answer for you right now about that, but I know the budget is in the works and it is on their way. There's a lot of steps to it to want to make sure that the budget is the most equitable and it is the best budget for our district. And sometimes that takes time.
Any other questions?
Ooh, can I say one more thing? You guys actually might be seeing a lot more of me. I am officially a 4B resident, so wanted to share that. I moved in, I think, 2 weeks ago. So
wonderful. Who's your commissioner?
Commissioner Gilligan.
Ah,
Pepperman.
nice, nice. Welcome. All right, I think that is it. We're going to move on to Barbara Rogers from the Councilwoman's office. And let me just say, as I mentioned at the top of the meeting, we're not going to recognize people who do not provide a name. So unfortunately, there is a hand raised, but I cannot call on that person. That is a security risk for us. We don't want to be Zoom bombed. We don't want to have to cancel the meeting. And so if you're unwilling to say who you are, then we are unwilling to call on you. And I'm sorry that that has to be the case, but I want to make that clear. If you want to change your name so that you're a real life person with a first and last name, we'll be happy to acknowledge you. Okay. We're waiting for Barbara Rogers.
Can you all hear me?
We can. Can't see.
Forgive my voice. I'm a little hoarse today. I think it's allergies because I really don't feel sick, but I just have just a few updates. Budget updates that was just mentioned. Although we had expected to receive a budget by this week, as a result of the delays in the CFO chairman and mayor's office, the budget will be delayed in being sent to the council. Part of the reason for the delay is a dispute with the CFO over whether the district must immediately replenish $250 million in reserve funds depleted during the pandemic. So we encourage residents to keep a close eye on developments with the budget. It will be very important that we all make our voices heard to ensure we uphold the programs and resources our community relies on. One of those services would be ERAP. The Department of Human Services will begin accepting new applications on April 1st. DHS will be accepting double the amount of applications this cycle. However, we still expect space to run out in just a few hours. So please, if you have residents, please remind them to get on early and apply. The application can be tricky and slots will not open again until July 1st. I am happy to put the link in the chat for that. And Kennedy Street Revitalization Project, DDOT is finally breaking ground. I know Cornelius is on tonight on Kennedy Street Revitalization Project number 2. Part of initiating this important work is road closures, including long-term lane closures, eastbound on the 14th and the 1200 block of Kennedy Street Northwest. So we encourage residents to stay updated on DDOT's website for further road closures or traffic updates. And I am sure I'm within my 5 minutes. If you
are.
Sign up for if you don't get our newsletter, we encourage you to please go to www.ward4news.com and sign up. And you can also just send a text to 202-286-5268, and you can receive our newsletter right to your phone. Thank you all so much for having me, and now I will reserve my voice.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Barbara? All right. It looks, Barbara, like you can hold your voice for now. Oh, wait a second. Commissioner Jocelyn Johnson is raising her hand. Barbara, don't go anywhere.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
It just got me on. Okay. My question is for well, probably for both Barbara and or Sophia. One, I appreciate that about the air tags being coming to Ward 4 to a ward near us Friday, I think it was. But for me and a couple of people who I've spoken to, they didn't really instruct us. They put it in and installed it. So I'm glad, we're all glad we got them, us who got them. But we would like to know if there's going to be any follow-up instructions, or like they're going to have a meeting to tell folks how they operate, or what do you do, or we don't know what to do. They
It's
kind of
really
sent us on.
simple. It's really simple. You don't do anything. You leave it in your vehicle, and if your vehicle is stolen, you contact the police, and they'll track it.
Okay, but we didn't know. It's not just for me, so I'm just, people who want to know. And but thank you, Allison. And the other question is that I wanted to tell Barbara my ongoing concern that I've been writing about the DPW with the trash. I knew we were going to have an ANC meeting tonight, so I really wanted to let you know that for the second week in a row, they did a really good job. It wasn't perfect. They did have a little litter, but considering how it usually looks, they stepped up to the plate, and the trash was the litter was like very little. A couple of food items were left behind, but it wasn't nothing like it was. So thank you. Please pass that word on to them for me.
Will
Thanks,
do.
Barbara and Sophia. That's it.
All right. Okay, so I believe Mike has a question.
They declined their promotion.
Okay, then we'll keep going. Are there any questions in the Q&A?
So there was a person who had their hand up for community comment twist. They have they've put their real name in the Q&A. I don't think they can figure out it. If you want to call on them now, Leroy
Okay.
Gotzendammer.
Where? Who? I'm sorry, say it again.
Twist is a resident named Leroy Gotzendammer.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, so I can promote him for his 1 minute if you want.
sure.
Leroy, you should be able to talk now. If you unmute yourself.
Not there?
Hit the ask to unmute button, Mr. Gotzendammer.
Okay, we'll keep going. Next would be
There's one other question in the Q&A.
go ahead.
Commissioner Thompson, it's for you about what time your SMD meetings are if you want to reply directly there.
You're muted, Commissioner Thompson.
He can just reply in the Q&A, I believe.
Yeah, you don't.
You don't need to respond out
Okay.
loud.
All right, we'll keep going and we'll hear from Fraser O'Leary, Ward 4 State Board of Education. And I'm sorry, while you're promoting him, Mike did have his hand raised, so I don't know if you want to go to Mike now or.
I attempted to promote
Oh, that's
Mike,
right. You
but
did
he
tell me that. I'm
declined the
sorry.
panelist promotion.
That's right. I'm sorry. All right, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I have a lot of news.
Okay.
We last time we met, I talked to you about we were going to vote on the report card. We were not satisfied with the information that we got from OSSI at our February meeting. And so we sent the resolution back to OSSI for corrections that we wanted. And they made those corrections. And we had a special meeting and we voted on the new report card and okayed it so that the report card that comes out in November will look much different than the report card that came out in last November. And I hope that the community will be at least a little bit satisfied with the changes that have been made. I testified at a DGS hearing that Councilmember Louis George had at the end of February, basically about Whittier and how we would like to have Whittier have a temporary site with trailers near the campus rather than having to go all the way to Sharp Hill School at 13th and Allison for their time when the Whittier is demolished and then rebuilt. We have had some positive movement towards that since then from DGS and from DCPS. Dr. Christina Grant, the State Superintendent of Education, has gotten a new job starting in June. She'll be running a big time education committee at Harvard University. So the mayor will be looking for a new superintendent after June 1st. I feel as though Dr. Grant has done a great job. We've accomplished an awful lot in just the last 2 years, as far as getting new social studies standards. We just passed the financial literacy standards that we've been talking about in the last couple of meetings. We passed new menstruation standards and the report card itself, and all of those things have been done within the last 2 years. Now the budget. As you know, the mayor is not dragging her feet as far as the budget is concerned. The school budgets have come out, and all of the principals are up in arms about the fact that they're going to be losing personnel in the schools. There aren't too many schools in the city that got more money on their budget. And what I don't understand is how the mayor would have the audacity to say that she would give Ted Leonsis $500 million to keep the Wizards and the Caps in the district when we have a budget that is real tight and seems to be because it's been over 2 weeks since it was supposed to have been publicized. And I'll believe it when I see it if it comes out this week. And for the $500 million, where can that come from when we haven't paid? The teachers are still without a contract since October 1st. Every teacher in the District of Columbia in the public schools is working without a contract. And I know that none of us would work without a contract except for me, since I was a teacher and worked without a contract one time for 4 years, one time for 3 years. But it's criminal that the teacher's contract has not been paid. The chancellor has never been to a meeting with the Washington Teachers Union. When they started negotiations in February and January, the first 2 meetings, hold on to your seat, were scheduled for 5 o'clock in the morning. Now the chancellor and DCPS have agreed to meet at 1 o'clock in the afternoon rather than 5 o'clock in the morning, but he still hasn't come to the meetings. We have a new ombudsman who has been was Kimberly Humphrey. She's a lawyer. She was voted on at our last meeting last week, and will be taking over as the ombudsman in April. That's the school news. We still have a Toni Morrison book club at the Petworth Library. I facilitate it. The next one is on the 28th of March, and we'll be working with Toni Morrison's novel, Love. And last but far from least is I Need Your Books. Mrs. O'Leary's Books for Friends is still collecting books. We're over 40,000 now since for 4.5 years ago. But my living room is empty. My front porch is empty. I need books from pre-K through 8th grade. If you can get in touch with me, I tried to put my information in the chat, but I was
Do
rejected.
it now that you're a panelist.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll put my information in.
Okay. Before we
and my
take you
my
off.
email is oman9@AOL, and my phone number is 202-236-2184. And I live right across the street from John Lewis Elementary on Farragut Street, 1318. You can drop the books off on my porch, or I'll come and pick them up from you. Thank you very much, and I hope somebody has a question while I put my information in the chat.
Yeah, it's less of a question. I feel obligated to respond to your characterization of Superintendent Grant. Folks have probably heard about the horrific situation for children with disabilities in accessing student transportation, which was Superintendent Grant's purview. The district is now being sued by children with disabilities that were not given their proper transportation so that they could get to school. There were incidents in our ANC area. We passed a resolution about it, including when a child with disabilities had police called on him under the purview of the Office of the State Superintendent of Education. So I would just ask, as a decision maker, that we put pressure on future state superintendents to prioritize their oversight of the student transportation network, and that we ensure that that functions well for the children among us who need us the most. And one of the most disappointing moments for me of Superintendent Grant's tenure was when she went to oversight hearings and when she was asked about this and said that the solution was to discourage more children from accessing these facilities, that we should make sure that they really need it rather than ensuring that we have adequate services for those kids. So OSSIDOT has got to be a major priority. I know it's not the glamorous part of the job. Social studies standards, setting rules and things like that, I think are probably much more interesting, but making sure the buses run on time goes a long way for kids.
I agree wholeheartedly. I sponsored our resolution, which we passed last year about that same problem. I have been eager to try to help those parents not just in Ward 4, who have been in touch with me about that. She inherited, I'm not going to make any excuses for that at all, because we have been trying to be on top of it. What we hear from the executive branch, not just from the superintendent, is they don't have the money for it. Right? Every excuse that we hear has to do with money. And we as a community need to make sure that those in our community who have the most need are the first priority for our leaders. Completely. And I agree with you completely, Mr. Yates. But the only caveat is I know she moved on it. They have a lot of problem trying to get bus drivers and bus aides. But the fact that if any student is late to school or doesn't get picked up, then that's the responsibility of the executive branch. Thank you for that.
Any other questions before we move on?
Jocelyn Johnson has her hand up. I'll
Okay.
promote her now.
They just got me. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, Mr. O'Leary, I just wanted to let you know that Ms. George, she spoke at the Ward 4 Mini Commission on Aging meeting a week or so ago. And I asked her, and a couple of the attendees asked her about the teacher's contract. So hopefully the council will back you all up, because we thought it was pretty appalling that the ball game and the bike lobbyists are getting money in the budget, and you don't have the teachers getting contracts. Something's wrong with that picture. So I just want to let you know you had our support.
Thank you for that. There was a rally for teachers a couple of weeks ago at outside Jackson Reed with all the teachers from over on the other side of the park, and it was about over 100 teachers there, and it needs to be fixed. And one of the biggest problems with the last budget, with the fact that the teachers didn't have a contract for 4 years, is when the mayor finally signed the new contract, which was a year and a half ago, for 1 year.
That's sad.
It took a lot of money out of the budget because they had to retroactively pay all those teachers. I didn't get retroactive pay because I've been retired now for 6 years. But I did get retroactive pay the year after I retired from the last contract. So that's something that, and I don't know anything about budgeting and finances, hardly anything, but I know that the city has lost a lot of money because they aren't paying the teachers. And so the community needs to be up in arms about that.
Yeah.
Because
Bad priorities.
as a teacher, and you were talking about the senior events. I think I'm the only senior on this call right now. I'm probably old enough to be some of your father easily, but you know, the seniors will be next.
I know.
Our children and our seniors are the most vulnerable members of our community.
But I wanted you to know that we brought it to the council's attention, to Ms. George's attention.
And the council, I think, is behind the teachers on the contract. But the mayor could have them sign a new contract tomorrow. She can make that decision.
I believe Mr. Gotzendamer has a question. His hand was
Okay.
up. He wants to unmute.
Yeah.
Good afternoon. My name is Leroy Getzenaner. I'm in 4B section of Washington, D.C.
I apologize for mispronouncing your name, Mr. Gotzendamer.
That's all right. So my question is, I'm on the 6800 block of Laurel Street Northwest. You know, we got that big project going on over there. And my concern is the future of parking in this area, because if the new residents decide that they don't want to pay for parking in the building, that they're gonna take up all the parking spaces on the street. And we need to, I was down on the 8th Street corridor in Northeast where they have permanent residential zone parking signs in that area. And I think especially for a resident such as I have been a 40-year resident, need to get those signs enforced in our area, and also the future of speed bumps on our street, because there are a massive load of cars speeding through our area around 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. All Euro cars with really high muffler sounds and stuff like that, and running the stop sign that turns onto Aspen Street. So I'm calling parking enforcement every day because the contractors, the construction workers haven't followed the guidelines of DC, which is getting permits to park out in front of residential zone 4 areas, and they'll be there eight hours plus a day. I'm coming off night shift because I work as a supply tech at Walter Reed Hospital, and coming home and I don't have any parking. Have you guys actually talked to parking enforcement about, visibility, more visibility in our areas?
I know I have. I know also Sophia Tacola is on this call, right? And hopefully she's taking note of the 6800 block of Laurel Street for DPW. And also for DDOT, if you wanted to file what's called a TSI report through 311 to get a speed hump, that's how you get the process started there. I sent you my email separately, but you can follow up with me separately on that for more information. I would also just say that because the building built at on Eastern, right, the Douglas development, the new construction you're referring to, is an of right building. It means that those people actually have access to residential parking permits. So if we were to make it resident only parking, all the members of that building would be eligible to receive those parking permits. So it'd have to be a legislative change, right, or a regulatory change to change that regime. So you'd have to talk to Councilmember Lewis George or the mayor's office to be able to make that happen.
Okay, well, I think I was under a misunderstanding, because I've done years of concierge work in a number of apartment buildings in the city here, and usually if you're a resident with parking in the garage and garage parking, you don't get residential stickers for the front of the building.
In DC, it either has to be excluded as part of the zoning or permitting process, right? Like in the deeding process. But when it's of right, there's no process like that around it. So if a block is eligible for residential permit parkings, the residents in those buildings are also eligible for residential permit parkings. So multi-unit or single family, right? Because the law doesn't treat differently a duplex versus an 300 unit apartment building. So that would have to be a legislative change. And I know that like the mayor is very close with the developer of that building, so like I'm sure that she would be able to push to be able to, maybe they could enter some sort of voluntary agreement around it.
Okay, so real quick, other question I have, how can we? I don't want to put a dent in farm.
Wait 1 second. Wait 1 second. We've already passed the community concern section of the meeting. And
Okay.
had we not, you still would have only been entitled to 1 minute. And so we
Okay.
have to keep the meeting moving forward.
Absolutely.
I believe you have, and I'm sorry to have to be a stickler about time, but that's the job of the chair. And
That's
so
fine.
please don't make me out to be the mean one here, but that's the job, right? I got the
Okay.
job. So I believe you have Commissioner Yates's contact information, and my suggestion would be use it, call him or email him and speak to him directly, and then he can answer the rest of your questions.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
All right.
Look forward to talking with you.
Thank you. All righty, let me get back to the agenda. Thank you, Mr. O'Leary. We're going to move on to Cornelius Anderson from DDOT. He's the Community Engagement Specialist for Ward 4, and he has 10 minutes. He is here at our request to answer and discuss some open items that DDOT has with us, and then take questions.
Afternoon, everyone, or evening.
Good evening.
So where should we start?
You should jump right in. I believe the first item on the list is to discuss any open NOIs within our boundaries.
All right, and so yeah, we do have a few. I know a couple we just sent out. That, for example, dealing with Piney Branch and Aspen. I know Commissioner Yates and Commissioner Palmer has already started to send us comments on those, and so they have been received. I know the gentleman, the engineer George, we're just waiting for a response that he received those, but just to confirm that I did receive them and have shared them with him as well. And so that's one that is in the works. Another one, which is I know has been a big one on everyone's radar, is the 2nd and 3rd Street one, which from my last update I received that we are looking to start construction this spring. So we just transitioned to that particular season. And so I have asked the team for a more definitive date of when we will be starting. But that was the last update that we did supply, was that we will be starting construction on that particular location in spring. One concern, and I think you forwarded that to me earlier this morning, was the concern around the parking. And so I did flag that with our engineers. As you may know, we did reduce some parking right there previously due to this particular concern. However, as it was seen in that particular photo, we do have individuals that are still not adhering to the no parking signs, or parking either at the curbs, or they're parking up to the exit or the entrance of Walmart. And so I'll follow back up with our teams to see what's their suggestions on that. Do they believe we need to remove parking in whole, or would that bring us more pushback from the community because those spaces may be utilized? But that's something I'll go back with the community with that particular notes. Outside of that, I think those are our two biggest open ones that we have right now for 4B. And if I'm missing one, please let me know. But those I know for a fact are our two biggest ones, our two biggest NOIs that we have out right now. We do still have some projects in the work that may be touching 4B, such as the Metropolitan Branch Trail. So that's still coming along. And the teams are still, I think we're finalizing design now, but we did have some concerns about locations with that. For example, we're going to be installing a crosswalk at Blair Road and Oglethorpe. And so we will be including in that particular project, there will be a crosswalk that will be installed going across Blair from at Oglethorpe, as well as a block over at Nicholson. And so we're going to build out crosswalks there. There's going to be an island in the middle of the street. And we're going to put, or we're proposing to put rapid flashing beacons right there, so that not only pedestrians and individuals from the dog shelter can utilize that, but also our children going to school there. And so we do have a lot of things going on in the ward. Couple of things going on in 4B specifically. But if there's anything, again, that I've missed, then please follow up with me, and I'll be definitely happy to loop back around to those and flag it for our teams if we need some responses.
Will do. We're going to take questions in a second. I'm going to start with mine, if you don't mind. And it's actually something really simple, but I forgot to mention it in the past. Residents have requested flashing beacons for the one-way sign at Kennedy and North Capitol. And when you mentioned those flashing beacons, it just reminded me of that. People typically go the wrong way on Kennedy Street on the northeast side.
Mm-hmm.
And so if we could do something to bring attention to the fact that that's what they're doing, that would be helpful.
Okay.
Also, I can talk to you offline, but I want to know a little bit more about getting raised crosswalks at the intersection of Kennedy and Blair on the northeast side.
Okay. If there's not already a TSI or traffic safety input that's been submitted, then we can definitely, of course, submit one on your behalf and then raise it to our engineers, so that when that particular location is prioritized, they can they'll have one solution to help address that particular problem there.
Okay, thank you. With that, I'll go to Commissioner Palmer and then Commissioner Yates.
Thank you. And thank you for being here tonight, Cornelius. There are two other NOIs that I'm aware of, one of which is the median and raised crosswalk at 6th and Butternut, which I understand is for installation pretty soon, but if you could confirm that. And then I'm wondering about the status of Kansas Avenue. Just the other day, a child exited Capital City on Kansas and was hit by a car. So I'm wondering what the timing and status is of that one as well.
Okay, great. I can follow up on both of those. I'll follow up with the bike team for the Kansas Avenue one. And then I'll follow up with our traffic engineer as far as 6th and Butternut, because I know we did reach out to you guys to finalize that a few weeks ago. And so that should be with our contractors, at least at this point. And so I'll follow up on both of those for you.
Thank you.
Commissioner Yates.
Yeah, I wanted to follow up on a couple things just to if you haven't got a TSI for yet, I'll add Mr. Gotzendammer's request for speed humps in the 6800 block of Laurel that he brought up earlier. But I would also just say a couple things I would like to ask about is the speed hump restoration after construction on 4th Street. South of Butternut. They appear to have gotten lowered when they were restored. And if someone could ensure that they are painted and the correct height. Then the other restoration issue, and I know the DDOT public space inspectors are supposed to be following after these utility companies come through, but I believe this one is a Washington Gas project at Butternut and Piney Branch. There were flex posts and painting to harden to keep people from making high-speed turns. You know, it's a block away from an elementary school and a very heavily trafficked pedestrian route for children going there and to DCI. They got pulled out. The painting did not get restored at that intersection, and I want to make sure that the responsible parties do restore the safety measures that were hard fought to be put in there.
Okay, I'll follow up on that. And just to note for everyone, just to kind of as a follow-up from community concerns about public space inquiries, we do have a new 311 what's the word I'm looking for? Selection. We do have a new 311 selection where you actually can request public space inspections and be able to, of course, keep tracking and keep a record of those particular requests. But I'll follow up on that offline with our teams. But just wanted to throw that out there for the general public, in case they were wondering, who do we call when we see a utility company has done work and they haven't properly restored it, as you noted.
Much appreciated. Let's go to Commissioner Cohen.
Hey, Cornelius. I just wanted to shine a spotlight on the intersection that I've raised with you and Sophia in the past. It's the Blair Road, Peabody, Kansas, and North Dakota intersection where that all sort of comes together.
In the 7-Eleven.
Yep, exactly. I've
Mhm.
received a couple of unsolicited emails from neighbors just concerning sort of the new no right turn on red signs that have been put up on that intersection, and a lot of folks sort of blowing through them. I've also raised the issue with MPD, but I just wanted to sort of bring it back up on the radar because it's a pretty dangerous issue that we're starting to see more of with folks sort of turning northbound onto Blair Road. They're sort of cutting right through an intersection where there's no right on red. And so I wanted to raise that again, and I'll bump it up in the email thread as well, but just wanted to highlight that.
Okay, I appreciate that. Yeah, I did know MPD responded and expressed that they'll try to assist us with enforcement there. And going back to Commissioner Palmer follow up, I think there was supposed to be some changes at the intersection with the bike project there in Kansas. And so once I finalize that update, I'll be able to hopefully provide some more information on what DDOT is looking to do there outside of the no turn on red signage.
Cool, thanks.
Commissioner Berry.
Okay. There's just one thing that I want to mention, that the 3rd Street Northeast was the road was paved like between New Hampshire, like almost all the way up. And the only thing is that the crosswalks weren't raised again. So I guess it's something I could. Is there like a 311 request we could put in for things like that?
There should be, but usually that's kind of an internal QA/QC, quality assurance, quality control. And so if you can just send me an email with that specific location, that's something that we hold standard, not only to just our teams, but other entities, is that once that work is completed, it needs to be returned or restored to its original fashion or better. And so we definitely want to make sure if infrastructure like that hasn't been replaced, we want to flag that as soon as possible.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, before we move to, I'm going to take Shanna Evans first and then Jocelyn Johnson. Before we move to resident questions, I just want to point out also that we brought this up before, and I'm really saying this more for the public than for you, Cornelius, is that there are no flag bearers on Kennedy Street Northwest. So there's a back up of traffic every day, especially in the morning. They're blocking the street with the construction vehicles and you can't drive through.
Okay, I know we spoke about it earlier, and it has been flagged for public space,
yep.
As we did in the past when we conducted a walkthrough. And so we'll flag it again and keep flagging it until we get some type of cooperation and resolution from them. But public space teams are aware, so they can go back out to address whether they have a traffic control plan in place, and if they do, why aren't they following it?
Okay, thank you. So we'll take these two questions from Shanna and Jocelyn Johnson, and then we'll wrap this section up.
Can I go to the Q&A first as a practice?
Yeah,
there was
sure.
a resident question left in the Q&A.
Go ahead.
Julie Lawson wants to know, thanks to DDOT for the leg off the Met Branch Trail from Fort Totten to start crossing Riggs. What is the timeline for the portion on Blair from McDonald to Van Buren?
That I will have to confirm with our teams, but Julie, I don't know if she can hear me or not, but I'll follow up with Julie via email with that. So I have taken note of her question and I'll follow up on it.
I've promoted Uchenna and Jocelyn.
Thank you. Uchenna? Uchenna, are you there?
Promotion just went through. So
Okay.
if you want to try again.
Uchenna, can you hear me?
Hi, everyone. Good
Hi.
evening. This is Yushena Cornelius. I just had a question about the plans for Second and Third Street. Do you all plan to provide a final design for that intersection, and how will you all communicate the final design plans? Will you be sending that to Commissioner Thompson and Commissioner Brooks?
I don't want to misspeak, but I believe the submission of our notice of intent was that final design. And if you don't have it, I'd be happy to share it with you. But from my understanding, when we submit that notice of intent, and engineers may go back and make some tweaks here and there based on comments, but that's usually that final proposal once we submit it out to the public. And so I'll send it to you. I do have your email. I know we've chatted before, and so I'll send that notice of intent over to you. I got your comments about the parking along 3rd Street, and so I'll have the engineers respond to that as well, to see kind of what's their vision on that. But yeah, when we submit an NOI, when we produce an NOI, that's usually we've gone through final design. It's been approved by the teams, and now we're just soliciting comments from the community.
So you'll send any changes to the commission with respect to the parking? Because it's
Yeah,
a
so
big problem.
right, yeah. So if our teams come back and say, hey, we can do something with parking outside of what we've done, which was cutting back some of the parking that's closer to the entrance of Walmart, then yes, we'll definitely we'll probably have to reissue another NOI as an amendment to the first one, because it's affecting legal parking. And so if that is, then yes, that would be the channel of communication through the agency.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, thank you for that question. Jocelyn?
Hi, Mr. Cornelius. This is Jocelyn Johnson. I'm sure, hi, you know, there was a lot of construction on 8th Street Northwest going from probably Missouri all the way to Whittier. But the construction ended up with all the streets on 8th Street being refurbished or improved, left better than they found it. But they didn't do anything to the 6500 block of 8th Street between Underwood and Van Buren. It's a hot mess, and I think we've been waiting to think that maybe they're going to come back and finally clean it up. They have not. Is it on somebody's radar screen, or can you put it on someone's radar screen? That's the only part has not been made pretty.
Well, it's on my radar now, and I'll follow up with our teams to ensure, because I know we had a lot of entities working at one time. Nonetheless, we'll follow up to see, who will be responsible for that, and just to make sure that there isn't any work scheduled, because that could be an issue of why it hasn't been restored just yet. Is that we may be, coming out to do one final patching or something. But with that said, I'll follow up for you, and I thank you for flagging it for me.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Palmer?
Yeah, I just have a quick response to that inquiry, which is that the challenges with that block and the paving of that block have existed for years. It's just kind of been compounded by some of the work going on. So there have been previous paving requests for that specific block, Cornelius, if that's helpful, put in via 311.
Okay, yeah, that is helpful. And I'll flag it. I mean, like I said, it may be weird thing is we actually have it on our paving list, but we're not going to go out and do any work when we see entities that are already scheduled to go out there to do some work. But I'll make sure I'll include you in my follow-up as well, Commissioner.
All right, thank you, everyone. Thank you, Cornelius.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll move to the committee updates. Housing Justice Committee.
Yes, thank you, Chair Brooks. Let me just pull up the information. The Housing Justice Committee last met on Wednesday, March 6th. We had a presentation on the zoning modification that's going to be discussed in this meeting later tonight, and then had a lengthy discussion doing some preliminary planning for this year's Tenant Resource Fair, which we will put on again with Advisory Neighborhood Commission 1A's Housing Justice and Zoning Committee. That is again tentatively scheduled for July. It was a great event last year, and we hope to build upon it this year. And our next meeting will take place on Wednesday, April 3rd at 7:30 p.m. virtually. That information is on the website. And we will have a discussion with Anne Marie Cuccia, who writes for Street Sense, about her reporting on homelessness in the district. And hopefully we'll have somebody from Miriam's Kitchen to also talk about efforts to address and end chronic homelessness. So that information is all on the website. Next meeting is April 3rd at 7:30 p.m. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, Commissioner Yates, could you give an update for the Housing Justice Committee, please?
The Vision Zero Committee? Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the Vision Zero Committee.
The
Thank
last Vision Zero Committee meeting was held Wednesday the 20th. We had a discussion about the resolution that is on the agenda tonight around public space permitting and utility work, as well as the NOI that we discussed previously tonight about Piney Branch and Aspen Street Northwest. The next meeting will be Wednesday, April 17th at 7 p.m. Agenda still being determined.
All right, thank you. Next, I believe, because I'm not looking at my agenda as I should be, is the Youth Advisory Committee. So Youth Advisory Committee is in its early stages. Our first meeting has been scheduled for Sunday, April 7th at 7 p.m. Welcome letters are going out to the students this week, and we will look forward to meeting them and getting started and listening to what it is they'd like to use their voice to accomplish. Commissioner Palmer, anything you'd like to add?
Just to again say that I'm excited to begin work with these students, and I hope that it has a ripple effect in terms of their participation, encouraging additional youth participation in the work of this commission and local politics in general.
Great. Real quickly, Community Safety and Support Committee is chaired by Commissioner Johnson, who is not here. I will say that they are reconstituting the committee and looking for people to participate. And if you're interested, you can reach out to Commissioner Johnson. And then we'll hear more from her when she's back next month. All right, we're going to move into our presentations, and we'll obviously skip item 6 and move straight to item number 7, which is Marty Sullivan, Sullivan and Barrows LLP, application for zoning modification at 5924 9th Street Northwest for 5 additional dwelling units. It's BZA case number 21106. And Commissioner Yates, do you know who you need to?
I do see the one person labeled as being with Sullivan and Barrows, and they put their hand up. Alexandra, is there anybody else I should be promoting this evening?
Hi, yes, I think Justin Cook from the ownership team should be here as well.
I see him and he's coming up right now.
Great, thank you. Sorry, Mr. Sullivan couldn't make it tonight, so I'll be stepping in on his behalf. All right, I don't know if Justin's up yet. There he is. Great, so I'm the land use attorney for the project, and Mr. Cook is with the ownership team. We are seeking a special exception from the Board of Zoning Adjustment. Am I able to share my screen? Let's see.
You should be able to, yes.
Okay, it says it's disabled.
Commissioner Yates or Palmer?
She's a co-host now. You should be able to do it now.
Great, thank you. Now it works. All right. Great. Can you all see this map here?
Yes.
Great. So the property is located at 5924 9th Street Northwest. It's an existing 27-unit apartment building, and the proposal is to add 5 units in existing cellar space. So no changes to the building are being requested, or no changes to the exterior envelope of the building are being requested. The proposal is just for 5 new units in this existing lower level and for a few new windows on the side. The property is located near retail. It's a block away from Missouri Avenue and Georgia Avenue. And so in order to increase the unit count, we have to seek BZA special exception approval because this is an apartment building in an RA1 zone. And so any increase in the number of units for apartment buildings in this particular zone, even though it is a residential apartment zone, require BZA special exception approval. And then the increase in 5 additional units necessitates 1 parking space. However, as you can see, the property is landlocked with no alley access and no curb cuts. So there's not currently parking on site, and there's nowhere to fit parking on the site. There's a Walmart Supercenter here, just to orient yourself. And so I think there's some parking adjacent there. This parking area appears to be owned by this property. And so we are also seeking relief for 1 parking space since we can't physically fit any parking on site. And that's effectively the project. It's relatively straightforward. I can run through the plans. Is Mr. Eric Groning on here? He's the architect. I'm not sure he was able to make it.
He is. I can promote him.
Great. That would be wonderful. Sorry, Eric. Didn't realize you were on.
He's not up yet. It usually takes just a moment.
Okay. And these are just showing the existing and proposed floor plans.
Good evening. This is Eric Ronning. Can everybody hear me?
Hi,
Yes,
Eric.
sir.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great, thanks.
I'm just walking through the floor plans now, or scrolling through. They're pretty straightforward. So we're happy to take any questions about the project at this point.
Just wanted to clarify a few things that I think were raised in the housing justice meeting that might benefit the broader community to hear as well. To be clear, if you were to add an additional build the parking space that's required, you'd have to do a curb cut, which would require the removal of current existing public parking spaces, right? To ensure for people to be able to drive onto the property.
Correct. Yes. As you can see, there's existing public parking here, so we would have to remove at least 1 space in order to get access to the property.
And then my understanding is that this building is rent controlled and will remain subject to rent control even with these changes.
I'll have to have Justin confirm, but yes, that's my understanding as well.
That is correct.
And can you tell me what size units you're going to add?
So these 4 of them are 1-bedroom units and 1 is a studio. Is that correct, Justin?
I do not believe so. For the basement, if you have the floor plan. They should be 3 bedrooms.
They're
Oh,
family-sized units, is my recollection.
Correct, family size units.
apologies. I was reading the statement that needs to be updated then. Good to know.
All right, I appreciate that. I wanted to make sure I drew that out because part of my thinking on this resolution has to do with the fact that it would involve the removal of public parking to oppose the BZA exemption, and that rent-controlled family-sized units are hard to come by in 4B.
Thank you for bringing that up. Appreciate that.
Let's see, I have a question. So just a clarification as well. That all units in the property are going to be renovated during this project to some degree, and all existing tenants will be able to remain on the property during the construction. Is that accurate?
That is correct. There'll be renovations conducted in each apartment.
Any other questions? Okay.
Did he confirm that the residents will be able to remain in the property as the renovations? Was that also confirmed?
That is correct.
Okay, thank you.
With the share your screen, it's difficult for me to see anyone. So I'm scrolling and I don't see any other hands raised. All right. Alexandria, is that the extent of the presentation? Is there anything else you need to add before I turn the floor over to Commissioner Gilligan?
I don't have anything else to add other than thank you for your time tonight. Justin, Eric, anything else to add?
No, I think you covered it pretty well. Thank you.
Nothing for me. Thank you very much.
Okay. Were there any other questions or community questions with regard to this presentation? All right. Commissioner Gilligan, would you like to discuss your resolution?
Yeah, so presenting
40301, supporting special exceptions for 5 additional dwelling units at 5924 9th Street Northwest, BZA case number 21106.
Thanks. Yeah, I'll just walk through quickly. So it is a presenting a resolution in support of the special exceptions as noted. At 5924 9th Street Northwest, construct 5 additional dwelling units. Let's see, just want to touch on a few items in the resolution, which I think all commissioners have had a chance to review. All units in the property will be renovated. All existing tenants will be able to remain on the property during construction. All units in the building are currently subject to rent control, and the proposed additional 5 dwelling units will also be subject to rent control. It will not alter the existing building footprint. All 5 additional dwelling units will be in the existing basement cellar level. The lack of the existing curb cut, as we mentioned, it would remove on street parking. So that's why we're trying to avoid that. So requiring a special exception, we're supportive of that. Let's see what else to mention. I think it's worth stating that ANC 4B believes housing is a human right and all district residents are entitled to safe, stable, and secure housing. And that this was presented to the Housing Justice Committee on March 6th. See, and just noting again that the new units will be family sized. So that's the resolution. And I guess one more note is that with respect to the lack of additional parking space, that this is located 1 block from the 7079 high frequency Metro bus corridor. And the absence of the additional parking spot mitigates additional stormwater runoff in our community and additional traffic burden. I want to thank the Housing Justice Committee for review, particularly Commissioner Yates and Commissioner Palmer for their review and inputs to the resolution.
All right, so before we move to a motion, are there any questions about anything that Commissioner Gilligan just presented or discussed? All right. One once.
So I move to get seek approval for the resolution.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe I saw every hand. Commissioner Smith, I didn't see. Okay, thank you. So that's everyone. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The final item on our agenda is Resolution 4B240302, calling for greater transparency and coordination in the permitting neighborhood utility work and improvements to DC Transportation Online Permitting System, TOPS. It's Commissioner Palmer, Yates, Brooks, and Smith. Commissioner Palmer.
Thank you, Chair Brooks. This is a resolution that highlights some of the issues that we've discussed in this meeting and previous commission meetings about challenges with the coordination of utility work in public space. Commissioners have heard from residents about situations where the public street and sidewalk space are dug up only to be dug up again shortly thereafter for a different utility project. As well as challenges with regard to notification of the work, both in terms of access to their residences, parking, and other issues. So the resolution acknowledges that there's an online permitting system, the transportation online permitting system, whereby utility providers, among others, apply for permits for work in public space, and that there is an existing map that shows this work, but there's information that's not there or not as transparent on the map. And there are repeated challenges with coordination in large scale projects that are done by utility companies. One example, which the commission weighed in on pretty recently, was utility work done along Piney Branch Road, where there's been a lot of traffic safety infrastructure that was removed for the utility work, and then it took a very, very long time and lots of pressure from the commission to get that infrastructure put back in. And then a couple of weeks later, it was ripped out again for another utility project. And it creates a cycle of kind of repeat work and lack of efficiencies and challenges to the existing infrastructure that we have. So the resolution calls for some changes to the online permitting system and the public space lookup tool, the map, including more clearly labeled information about who is doing the utility work and how to contact them if there are challenges. The resolution also calls for better coordination and engagement and communication with neighbors regarding large-scale and long-term utility work, including slightly longer notice periods to residents and ensuring that notices for work include points of contact for complaints, as well as information about the standard for restoration and what happens if public space is not restored when utility work is completed. The resolution also calls for more broadly better coordination among these utility projects, including sharing with the commission and residents information about the work that the District Department of Transportation does to actually coordinate these projects, enhancing proactive inspections, and working toward what Commissioner Thompson has highlighted as dig once policies, which is the idea of minimizing disruption and kind of bundling your utility work in a more efficient way. So that's the resolution, and I'll pause and see if anyone else would like to say anything or has questions.
Anybody have any? Commissioner Yates?
Just wanted to note that this was discussed at the Vision Zero Committee, and committee members were supportive of this process and encouraging the district government to coordinate with utilities and folks on our committee who have expertise in this area. Note that this is routine in other jurisdictions, that it appears to be not executed as well as in DC and other areas. And that I will say that as someone who has had Pepco and Washington Gas and DC Water and Verizon tearing up roads within my single member district, it's a concern I hear from my constituents a lot.
I can agree. I hear comments all
And
the
thank
time.
you for Commissioner Palmer for an extremely well-written and thoughtful resolution, as always.
Absolutely. All right. Any other questions or comments? Is there a motion?
I'd like to move the resolution, please.
All right, thank you. And is there a second?
A second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I believe that's everyone. All right. Thank you very much. Just before we adjourn, I didn't say this tonight, and I usually say it. So for those of you that are new to the group or haven't been to a meeting, I do want to point out that we post all of our resolutions in advance and our agenda in advance on our website. You can always find the materials there if you want to review what it is we're discussing in advance of the meeting. Okay, and then at the bottom of the agenda is the next scheduled meetings for committees, planning meeting, and public meeting. So with that, I will conclude this meeting. Thank you all for your time and your participation, and we'll see you again.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.